Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my bonding Q&A. Feel free to drop in the chat. I can actually see the chat today. Last week I couldn't see the chat. Let me just put in hi into the chat. So I think that you guys are able to put, say, live chat. Okay. I think you guys are able to put questions into the live chat. If you want to do that, please do. And I have a couple of questions here that were already asked this week, but I am here for you. If you have anything that you want to ask me about bonding, pre-bonding, please do let me know, because I want to answer your questions. Okay, so I will get started while you are maybe looking at that. So this was a question that I answered actually on a Facebook group this week, and I thought I'd answer it here as well because it's something that I hear all the time. And there's a lot of guilt and shame around it. And it's just because people don't know any different. And the rabbits are given different vibes than what's actually going on, I suppose is the best way to put it. So this girl had messaged, let me just read the message, and she said, I made a horrible mistake and I fully acknowledge that. I got a second bunny, another male, but neither of them were fixed. They were doing so well, no fighting, and I thought bonded well, grooming, laying together, eating, etc. Well, they fought, and now my older male is injured. They're now scheduled to get fixed early September. Did I ruin their bonding process by not waiting until they were fixed? Will they ever bond again? They did flop together afterwards before I realised the other was injured. I just feel so horrible. This is my first time bonding rabbits and I clearly did it wrong. Please be kind. So bless her, the poor lady was just devastated. And of course, the rabbits were getting off these vibes. Let me just fix my camera. I feel like it's a little bit, ignore my clutter in the background. I'm just rearranging my office. So the rabbits were giving off the vibes that they were fine. And this can be really, really deceptive when you've got two rabbits, especially if they're younger rabbits and they're kind of at that age where hormones kick in. So what can happen is they can act as though they're fine. Baby rabbits particularly, I don't know how old her rabbits were, but I'm guessing they're young enough if she's not getting them fixed till September. So baby rabbits particularly will get on with any other baby rabbit, and a baby rabbit may well get on with an older rabbit. So it could be that one of her bunnies is actually younger. And what can happen is they can act as though they're fine, everything can seem fine, and then you can come down one day to fur and maybe worse, like an injury. And it's because of the hormones, basically. And sometimes they really need to go through a proper bonding process. I don't know if you've seen my video on instant bonds. I say to people, even if your bunnies seem to fall in love completely, immediately, and completely in love, always go through the bonding process anyway, because it can seem as though it's fine, but actually what's happening is they're just affectionate with each other. But when they have a miscommunication or a hierarchy issue that is unresolved, you can have trouble weeks or months later down the line. And what you thought was a solid bond actually isn't. So it's better to go through the bonding process where you're there to supervise them and make sure they're communicating safely and they're not hurting each other, and they figure all that out while you're actually there. So what can happen with this is that the buddies can seem as though they're fine, and then they can have a hormone surge one day and all hell can break loose. And it can happen so fast. I mean, obviously it happened really, really fast for her. Sometimes there's a build up to it. Sometimes there is, little kind of signs. There's like a little bit of chasing, a little bit of fur pulling, a little bit of mounting. And owners often don't think too much about that. I had somebody come to me last week and she was like, I didn't think much about it. I just separated them for a while, put them back together. They seemed fine. They were grand. And they had done that a few times. And then there had been a really bad fight. So the question really is, have you ruined the bond forever? So if one of your bunnies is injured, obviously the first and most important thing is to get them seen by the vet, and then give them a break from bonding. And then if they're not neutered, then you need to get them neutered and you need to wait at least 8 weeks. With boys, it can be 8 to 12 weeks. So depending on how young the boys are and what the fight was like and all that, I'd probably recommend at least 8 weeks and maybe 12, depending on what their behavior is like after that. So wait then, and then you need to start rebonding them. So if you've had an injury or they've had any kind of negative interaction, really, you have that grudge to get over. So they're worse than elephants for remembering, unfortunately. So they do have to get over their grudge, and then they have to work out their hierarchy after that. But the fact that they were grooming and snuggling at some point would give me very much hope that they can fall in love again. I always say if they fell in love before, they can fall in love again. And they sometimes, once they get over all that, the grudge and the hierarchy, they sometimes then remember, oh, I used to groom and snuggle you, and now we can go back to being friends, and it's all fine. So it's not the end of the world. I deal with also an awful lot of people who have been in this situation where the rabbits have fought either before they were neutered when the hormones kicked in and everything seemed fine, or sometimes when the rabbits have been living side by side and they've gotten into each other. That's actually quite common. It's like they're determined to get into each other. And I think the rabbit who is arriving in to the other one's pen doesn't necessarily mean to get into them as much as getting out of their own pen. And they can both be a bit surprised, and it can also end in a fight then because the one whose territory the other one has jumped into is protecting their territory, basically. So um, it's not the end of the world. It's horrible. It's an awful shock, and the guilt that goes along with it is terrible. But it isn't the end of the road for their bond necessarily. I mean, it is possible that they won't bond, but 99% of cases they will. Most of the bonding, like a large portion of the bonding that I've done. So I've done over 290 bonds myself, and I've supported a total of over 500 bonds, including those. So the rest are online bonds, and probably easily 60% of those have been some kind of scenario where the rabbits have fallen out and they've injured each other, and it nearly always works. So bonding is very much a tailor-made process. The narrative online about do this, then do this, then do this does not work for a lot of bunnies, and then people often think their bunnies are unbondable, and actually it just needs thinking outside the box, things tweaking, and to change things up as the bunnies react during the process in order to make it work. So all is not lost. So if you're in that situation, all is not lost. Do book a 15-minute call with me. I do free 15-minute call once a week. You can drop the code word clinic underneath and I'll send you the link. And we can have a chat about what's going on with your bunnies, what has happened with your bunnies, what you've tried already, how you're feeling about the whole thing. I'm very used to people being in tears and being upset and stressed and having been shamed online and Facebook groups for what they've done or haven't done, that somebody else thinks they've done rightly or wrongly. And it's just awful. And I really hate people feeling like that because you're doing your best or you wouldn't be trying to put your bunnies together. And if you didn't love them, you wouldn't be trying. So I think there's absolutely no need for all that. It's just total nonsense. So please don't feel worried if you're upset or emotional about the whole thing, because these are your fur babies. Of course, you're emotional about it. And I'm here to support you as much as the bunnies. And I think sometimes that's what's missing online, because people say, just put two rabbits together, just do this and then do that. But what about how you're feeling about it? What about the fact that you're anxious about it, or you're upset because they've had a fight before, or you don't want them to hurt each other? And also, what about the setup that you're using, the time and space that you have available to you to do this? You know, there's lots of variables in bonding, and the rabbit's history together when this has happened, or their individual history, if they're rescues, for example, those kind of things absolutely need to be taken into account when you are bonding as well. And I take a holistic approach, I suppose is the word for it, to the whole thing, so that we can get your buddies happily bonded. So it's not the end of the world. Don't beat yourself up. It's not. It happens more often than you think. It's so common, and people just don't often talk about it because they get shamed online. So don't feel that you're alone, and don't feel it's the end of the road, that we can definitely give it a good go and probably make it work. Okay, so hey Catherine. Can't see your message there. I don't know whether you undid it or okay, it's back. I've spoken to you over TikTok about my buns. Fidget and Ringo are both 4, fixed, and previously bonded and breed, male and female. We're on day 3 of 24/7 bonding. I haven't had to separate. Oh, brilliant. Yes, I remember you were going to collect your bunny from the rescue. So it sounds like it's going pretty well, is it? Lily says, what are good pre-bonding tips? How long should you switch blankets and so on? And what are positive behaviors when showing the objects? Thank you. Hey Lily, how's it going? Okay, so there's a lot of controversy online about pre-bonding. So some people will say you shouldn't swap things over or swap their pens because it only stresses out the bunnies. I kind of take the opposite tack of that. I actually think it really helps. I've seen a big difference to bunnies that are coming into me for bonding where they have lived side by side and the owners have maybe swapped their items or swapped the bunnies over every day. Excuse me. And I think it sort of helps them to get to know each other and it immerses them in each other's smell. And I think it's all kind of good things, to be honest. And it's something that I recommend in between bonding sessions as well. If you're not doing 24/7 bonding and you are separating the bunnies at night time or whatever, then put them back in the opposite pen because it can really help. You do have to watch for signs of gut stasis. So you're saying what are positive behaviors. So first to the negative, watch for signs of gut stasis. I would advise you always, if you're swapping litter trays or swapping the sides for the bunnies, to tip out their litter tray every day so that you know exactly who is pooping. Don't over clean it because you want them to smell each other, but do feel free to tip it out every day so that you know who is actually pooping. That's really important. Make sure they're eating. Most bunnies are happy enough and enjoy a good explore of the other's area. The odd rabbit doesn't like it and doesn't cope with it. So you need to watch really careful for any kind of pre-bonding to see whether your bunnies are actually stressed by it. Like it's really rare. So just be really careful. So that's the first thing. You can, there's not really a timeline. If you could do it, I guess, for a week or 2 weeks before you start bonding, it can be really helpful. But if that's going to delay you bonding and you actually want to get started bonding, then don't panic too much. Just sort of incorporate it into your day to day. Like I would just do it for a day or two beforehand. So I generally don't switch blankets and litter trays and all that. I literally just lift the bunnies and switch them over. I just think it's easier, but it's a very personal thing and it's whatever works for you. There isn't any right or wrong for it. The only thing I will say is be very careful if they're side by side that they don't get into each other because, like I was saying, they can be very determined to get into each other. So do make sure that you Fort Knox the place down because the last thing you want is an injury if you can possibly help it. Obviously, we don't want them injured, and obviously that's going to make your bonding harder as well as having big vet fees. So you really want to be careful with that. So some people like to just swap things like blankets and litter trees and that. So positive signs are them kind of interacting in a positive way, I suppose, with whatever the object is. So using the litter tray, if you put them in a teddy bear, they might groom it. If you put in a blanket, they might cuddle into it. They may ignore it, and that's okay too if they ignore it. So those are kind of positive signs. But don't pay too much attention to it at the same time because this is all part of the process of them getting to know each other. So if you have a pair of buddies that are living side by side and they are lying up against the fence and maybe grooming each other through the bars, or they'll eat beside each other and they'll spend a lot of time watching each other, that's a really positive sign that they're interested in each other. But it doesn't mean that you won't still have problems when you put them into the bonding pen because they still have to work out their hierarchy and learn to communication, all that kind of stuff. But it is a good sign. That being said, the opposite is true too. So if you have rabbits that are side by side and you're seeing a lot of negative behavior, sometimes it can help to give it a bit more time. But sometimes it really doesn't make that much difference and you're better off just jumping in and doing it. So I think it's a good thing to do in summary, but I don't think you necessarily need to watch for positive behaviors. If you get positive behaviors, then I would take that as a good thing. If you don't stress too much. Does that help at all? Sorry, I know I can waffle on about rabbits. Okay, so Catherine says, great, they're snuggling and grooming each other. Yay, that's brilliant. They're doing great. They're snuggling and grooming each other. Ringo has done some mounting and Fidget is not stressed but moved away. Would like some advice about increasing their space. Okay, so grooming and snuggling is a really good sign. The fact that you've done 3 days of 24/7, that is fantastic. That's really, really good. So the fact that you're feeling that you didn't have to separate them at all means that you're getting a lot of peace, which is really good. That being said, I couldn't advise about increasing their space without knowing more about how the rest of the process has gone, what behaviors you have seen, what size you're in now, what you're aiming for. All that kind of stuff is quite nuanced. So what I would recommend is maybe a half an hour call with me would be plenty, where you could just fill me in on that and I could give you some next steps because it's a crucial moment in your bond. So fantastic that you've had a really good start. It sounds like they really want to be friends, and I think you're absolutely on the right track, and that is brilliant. But how you handle the next few steps can really make a difference. It's very important not to rush the bunnies, but at the same time, if you leave it too too long in one space, they can get bored and that can cause problems as well. So it's really a very nuanced timeline depending on how things have gone. So I can absolutely give you some advice on that. I would recommend a half an hour call would be the best option. Think that's all it needs. Um, so I can, let me just drop you a link is probably the best thing. Not a 30-minute timer, Google, 30-minute call. There you go. And if you have any videos, that can be really helpful. Because we can look at the videos together. Some people find that really helpful because sometimes you're not quite sure what the bunnies are saying to each other. So if there's anything that you're wondering about or you feel is like a negative scenario, then try and get a little video of it. Or if you have videos, you can share them with me and we can look at them together on the call. So if you're going to start recording and you haven't already, what a really good tip to do is use a pet camera or set your mobile phone up while you're doing the sessions. And then what I need to see for context is a couple of minutes either side of the actual negative behavior. Because what happens before the build up to it and during the build up to the negative behavior and how they calm down afterwards and what they behave like afterwards is just as important as what actually goes on in the middle. So that can be really helpful. So if you want, we can look at that. If not, we can just do a plan for you. It's your half hour call. So whatever you need out of it, I'm happy to help you with. Okay, Lily says, thank you so much. I'll definitely make the setup safe and secure. Brilliant. That's very exciting. So are your bunnies neutered? Are they, you thinking about bonding them soon? That's very cool. Would love to know. That's fab. Okay, let me just, while I'm waiting for you to answer that, let me just check if there's any more questions. So I put question boxes up on TikTok and on Facebook and Instagram as well. So I have to say I'm enjoying doing this. It's great to talk to you guys about bunnies. I could prattle on all day. So I'm going to do this on a Tuesday night at 7 UK time for the next few weeks and see whether people like it. You gone, Lily? Are you gone? Lily, I actually have a pre-bonding class. I'm just thinking for you that would be really helpful about getting ready for bonding. So it's all about how to, it's a free class, all about how to do pre-bonding, what you can do that really makes a difference. And then also things like how to figure out your timeline. So if you're wanting to start bonding, you often see online you need to do 4 hours a day. It's nonsense. So I help you figure it out around your busy schedule because we all love our buddies. They are our world, but we also have other things going on. And there's only so much in our lives that we can pause. So it allows you to start thinking about those kind of things and also thinking about making a neutral space where you might bond when the time comes, getting your equipment together, all that kind of stuff. So you can be doing that while you're waiting. And that can be really helpful when if you've got a few weeks to wait after they've been neutered or something like that. At least you feel like you're doing something and you're starting on the progress on the right track towards it. So I have just dropped that in there for you. The second link there. It's called Get Ready for Bonding. Okay. Right, I'm going to head because it looks like you're. Oh, she's back. Catherine's back. Takes a while to type, doesn't it? That's the problem with the delay on these things. I'd really like that. Ringo does enjoy throwing the hay tray about. Fidget helped him with the last lob. I had to laugh because they seem to work together. I often say that to people. You think you want two together and it's going to keep them out of mischief, but actually you end up double trouble some of the time. That's a really good sign. That's brilliant. I'm not sure if there's more to that message. It just says I at the end. I can't see it all. Is there a way for me to see all of that, or is that all of it? Are you limited by how many words, I wonder? I'll have to check that out. Okay, brilliant. So the top link there is for you, Catherine, the 30-minute call, and the one below that then is for you, Lily, for the pre-bonding. So I hope that helps. Okay, look forward to talking to you, Catherine, then, and I'll send you a message as well on TikTok. Okay. All right, guys, lovely to talk to you, and I'll see you soon.